Jagex is back with a brand new league called Raging Echoes. I'm Static Initializer here to give you my breakdown and analysis of Spoiler Day 1, so let's get right into it. I want to talk about the T1 relics that were spoiled today, which are Power Miner, Lumberjack, and Animal Wrangler. We're going to go into each in detail. Then I want to talk about how these relics have evolved from the past relics. Also, these are all resource gathering relics, and therefore I want to talk about region resource availability. And lastly, some of that information is going to kind of play into how we decide our relics. So we're going to go over my choices and how we're going to go from there. So the T1 relics today, they all have this kind of theme where they affect the primary resource gathering skill, they affect the secondary processing for that skill, and there's also a tertiary skill that kind of goes along with it that it affects. So Power Miner primarily focuses on mining, benefit to smithing, and then lastly, there is a unique where you can also get crafting XP. Lumberjack focuses on wood cutting and fire making, and then there's also a way to get some fletching XP out of it. And lastly, Animal Wrangler focuses on fishing and cooking. Now, Hunter isn't really necessarily related to fishing and cooking. You know, there are some things you can catch some hunter meats and then you can cook them, but it is roped into here, and I'm going to talk about that as well. So Power Miner, you're going to get an Echo Pickaxe. This is very similar to the previous Infernal tools that we used to get, like the Infernal Pickaxe. It doesn't degrade, and it's the equivalent of the Crystal Pickaxe, and so you don't have to go and try to get one of those, which is really nice. Also, this is a new thing where whenever you fail a rock, you have a 50% chance to succeed. This is a really nice benefit. It kind of gives you a way to get some extra resources, and all these resources will automatically be sent to your bank. This is kind of like Endless Harvest. And in addition to that, the rocks won't deplete until you've mined 4 ores. And this effect will stack with mining gloves. Now, remind you that mining gloves are locked behind Asgarnia, so that's only beneficial if you're going to go to Asgarnia. And then lastly, all the things you mine will automatically be smithed. When you mine iron, it'll automatically become steel bars, and then gems that you mine will give you crafting experience. Now, we all have access to the gem mine in Karamja. I think it's locked behind the Karamja diary, maybe medium or hard, and so you just have to complete that. But then once you do, you can pretty much start getting crafting XP. And remember, it doesn't depend on your crafting level, so whatever you mine from those gem rocks will automatically be cut, and that'll be a really nice way to boost your early crafting levels if you haven't already started by then. Lumberjack gives you an Echo Axe. Again, same thing as the Infernal tool, equivalent to the Crystal Axe. They're really powerful. You never have to go and get a Dragon Axe and then upgrade it to the Crystal Axe if you want to. You can just focus on, with this tool, just start chopping it right away. Also, same thing, you have the 50% chance to succeed. Now, I don't know how this works with tick and animation timing. Same thing with mining, so that's still TBD, but if you do know, definitely leave a comment below. Also, items gathered from woodcutting are automatically banked. Now, I'm not 100% sure why you want to bank these. Obviously, for teaks and mahoganies, you would want to bank them to make logs for construction. But for most of the other trees, unless you're banking some logs for birdhouse runs, probably not beneficial. And so at that point, you're probably going to be turning on the automatic fire making and just burning the logs. Or maybe you want to get some fleshing done and you want to get some arrow shafts, and so you can turn on automatic fletching. Now, this is an added nice benefit to Wintertot if you're going to get Karend, and you can automatically fletch the roots, I believe, and that will then you can just feed them into the brazier. Lastly, we have Animal Wrangler. Again, same thing, the crystal equivalent of a harpoon. Also, the 50% chance to succeed. All the fish are automatically sent to your bank, and 50% of your fish are automatically cooked. One other note that's on the bottom, which is you will never burn food while cooking as well. So all the fish that you go and bank automatically that you didn't cook, you can just go and cook if you need more fish. This is really good if you're going to AFK Karam bombs, which we all have access to in Karamja. Also, there is a shark spot in the Isle of Souls, so that's where you can probably get your really high-end fish. And then depending on your regions, if you get Karend, you can get anglers, for example. Also, attempt to catch fish 1 tick faster is really nice. That might actually make sharks a really good XP source. And so keep that in mind as a pretty big reason to get fish. Also, fish and food are used for PVM as a way to restore your health points, and so it is an important factor. Now, also into this, we also have the hunter benefits where your hunter traps will never fail. You will double your Chinchompas and get XP for double Chinchompas, which is nice. And your Impling Jars will no longer break. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I might be going Volamore and I'll have access to hunter contracts, well, this will make your traps never fail, which is pretty nice. It'll be faster to complete your hunter contracts in general. Also, catching Chinchompas and then using them to train range will be fast and nice. And overall, I think this is a pretty good quality of life to hunter. That said, maybe you like the other aspects of hunting and you don't, worry too much about the failure. And so maybe this isn't necessarily the best choice for you. So how have these changed from the past relics? Well, this is kind of a combination of Endless Harvest, Infernal Gathering, and Trickster. Now the skill is, or the Infernal Gathering is split by tool. And also there were parts from Trickster that was like, the burning of logs aspect and other things where they've kind of grouped it together into a skill-specific relic. So if you went, let's say you went Trickster, but you went Infernal Tools later on as a choice, you were going to be able to kind of benefit the wood cutting and then the fire making aspect of it, even though maybe you missed out on the Trickster part of it where you could, burn a bunch of logs at once. And so you could maybe kind of balance out some of the skills you weren't getting a boost because you chose a specific relic on T1, and then you could kind of round it out and fix it with a T5 relic later on. Now, I think this time around, the relics are way more skill-specific targeted, and so that's going to, maybe change your decisions on what you want to go. The 50% additional chance on failure is really nice, but it's not probably the same equivalent as Endless Harvest was with 2x resources from the past. So regional resource availability. Now, as I mentioned, we all have access to Isle of Souls. There is, I believe, a 1 rune rock there, as well as a shark fishing spot. Also, Foss Island has volcanic mine and some runite and some adamant rocks as well. So if you're like, hey, I want to go mining, I want to get the adamant rocks so I can get the bars to make bolts for PVM. That is a pretty nice benefit, though there is a rock scarcity. And if all the players are on all the worlds mining all these rocks, there might be a bit of a challenge, right? And depending on which regions you unlock, you might have access to good mining spots. Like the Wilderness has a pretty good mining spot resource. Also Asgarnia with the Mining Guild and Mining Gloves. But maybe some other areas don't have so much access. So just keep that in mind, right, when it comes to choosing mining. Also, speaking of mining, we all have access to the gem mine in Karamja, which is really beneficial. So if you do choose mining, you are going to be able to access there. Now remember, those rocks do deplete. Every player wants these resources, and so getting a rock, even though there are tons of rocks in the gem mine, might be a little bit difficult, at least on the first few days. Over time, remember, the leagues are running a little bit longer at 8 weeks this time around, so if you're planning on playing this all the way into the 8th week, you're probably not going to be fighting for this resource, but it will be somewhat of a challenge early on. Whereas places like fishing as a benefit, we all can share the same fishing spot. And also with woodcutting, Jagex recently reworked that with a timer. And so we can all share the same tree. And so that's why mining is a little bit of a kind of a rogue choice. But at the same time, it is one of the slowest skills XP-wise. And so it is a huge benefit to get mining, right? Also, things like Tempros are locked in the desert. So if you're like, hey, I want to do Tempros to 99, and I'm not too worried about, fishing otherwise, and I'll just get my fish from Tempros, that's perfectly fine, right? Volamore, as I mentioned, has the Hunter Guild, and doing the Hunter contracts will, I think, actually get a nice benefit from the Hunter boost with Animal Wrangler. So that's a good benefit. Current has Winter Tot, the Woodcutting Guild, and Anglerfish. All 3 really great resources. And then turn 1 has Volcano, which I believe one of the mods, Jagex mods in Discord, said that it would automatically smith the ore you mine, and so it'll kind of shortcut Volcano, which will be really nice if you decide to go for turn 1. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. I hadn't really go into full detail and full research here, just because my decision hasn't been made on which relic I'm going to choose. Once I figure out a little bit more and we get a lot more spoilers, I'll probably do some more research. I encourage you to watch other videos and do your research as well on other players' guidance. Lastly, how to decide. Number one thing, don't decide yet. There's still a lot that we don't know. A lot of monsters, the Raging Echo bosses, we don't know what regions they are, and therefore, if you don't know which regions you have, you don't know what things you have access to. Like if I have access to Wintertot, I'm probably not picking, the wood cutting and fire making skill, right? I can just AFK some trees, and then I can just go use Winter Tot to level up my fire making. Also get a couple good resources on the way. But if I choose not to go Current because I want to have access to like Fremenic and Desert for like maybe a Raging Echoes, Calphite Queen, and Dragonoth Kings, then maybe I do want to get the fire making and wood cutting lumberjack skill to kind of round out my character. And that also aligns with, what is my goal in leagues. So last league I just went for the rune tier. I just wanted enough points that I could, buy all the cosmetics that I wanted. I also wanted to have a lot of fun with friends and do some raids. We all picked Desert so we could all do some TOAs together, and I got to learn that. And so that's kind of deciding on the choices that I make, because I did want to go for points, but I wasn't really necessarily going to go for max. It was a kind of ambition, but I kind of lost wind, and so I was happy with the amount of points I had. And so choosing this relic will kind of give you two options. One, is it going to be a really good boost early on to the skills? So if you just went fishing and you just started, fishing all around Mistlin, we get Lumbridge fishing area. I mean, kind of all three skills you can do early on in Lumbridge, no problem. But then immediately after, what spot are you going to for the next thing? If you're going to go mining and you want access to the Addy rocks, I believe there's definitely some on Fossil Island, and there might be some elsewhere, but Fossil Island is behind a quest. Again, pretty quick quest to do, but just some things to kind of keep in mind as to what are you doing to kind of boost your early unlocks. Now, if you're not too worried too much about your early unlocks and you have a really good plan ahead, maybe you just want to help you kind of fix whichever skill is going to be tedious to max, right? If you're going for a dragon tier points, or if you're going to just max for the sake of maxing, you do want to probably pick one that will give you a boost to the slowest skills like mining, or maybe if you don't have, access to current, maybe wood cutting might be a good choice for you. That's all I have. If you have any thoughts on what you're deciding, or other reason or other decision-making mechanisms, definitely leave a comment below. If you want to stay up to date on all of my breakdowns for this spoiler for these league, definitely subscribe and hit the notification icon. Like if you find this helpful, and yeah, any other comments and feedback, just let me know. Thanks for watching.